Hey, solar eclipse, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite albums. And today I'm finally free to do a double album review where I review two albums at once because I'm just too goddamn busy. The last few days have been in fact, the last few weeks have been extremely busy for me. I've been caught up with so many assignments, papers, and essays, group projects, and other school stuff, trying to find a job, film screening, film festivals. Oh, it's just nonstop things to do. The thing is, I have a life now. I have people and things to do. So the thing is, I won't have a lot of time to do YouTube videos. So from here on out, I'll be doing more of these double album reviews and mini album reviews because I truly can't dedicate this much time to talking about music and movies on my channel anymore. But anyways, the first album I'm going to talk about is the new Beyoncé album, Cowboy Carter. Legendary singer-songwriter, megastar Beyonce is back with a new album, Cowboy Carter, with this extremely badass looking album cover. I actually really like this album cover. This is the second installment in the Renaissance trilogy, I guess, where we have this black album cover where she's sort of doing a pose, and every album is an expansive and modernistic take on a certain genre. The last album she released is titled Renaissance, released a couple years back, and it is essentially her jab at dance music and house music and electronic music. And you know what? It's pretty damn good. There are loads of bangers on that album, lots of attitude. It's very catchy, it's a very strong statement. And lo and behold, Cowboy Carter is a country album. And this may come as a surprise for a lot of people, but honestly, I'm down to listen to some country music by Beyonce. But the thing with this album is that it has 27 freaking tracks and it's 1 hour and 18 minutes long. It is too much. And there are also loads of interludes on the album that sort of stops its momentum constantly. We also have a lot of features on this album, most notably Willie Nelson, who comes on to the album as like a radio show host or something like that, which is pretty fun. So I'm going to just easily, smoothly, quickly glide through all of the tracks here. The album opener, American Requiem, is a gospel-esque intro. It sounds like a national anthem to the land of Beyonce. It's super epic, super grand, maybe a little bit too much, maybe a little bit too full of itself for an album opener, but the next few tracks are all really fantastic. Blackbird is a cover of the Beatles song, and while it's not the most amazing cover of all times, I think it is tastefully mixed and sampled, and it's just a very sweet and nice little vocal harmony group up that I just really like. 16 Carriages is an awesome rock country track with a lot of organs and bass and percussion blasting together. It's very exciting. And then following that, we have Protector, which is a beautiful ballad about motherhood and her children. Texas Hold'em is a catchy little country track. Sure, it's very clean and dancey, and it doesn't have the country aesthetic that a lot of people usually associate country music with. And it's very showy, that's for sure. But it's still a very charming track. It's a lot of fun, and it is honestly just a catchy banger. And, you know, who doesn't resist a catchy banger? Then we have Bodyguard, might be my favorite track on the album, honestly. This is this country pop rock mix. Everyone's singing in a very, and by everyone I mean Beyonce and Beyonce's, you know, her vocals are laid on top of each other. In a way, it sounds like a group of people singing around a bonfire or something. It's a real wholesome moment, and lyrically is about protecting a loved one in a mosh pit, and it has a lot of lovely vocal harmonies. It's an awesome track. We have Dolly P, which is Dolly Parton, and then Dolly Parton shows up on that track, obviously, saying, "Oh, Beyonce, show him what you got." And then we have Jolene, which is the cover of the Dolly Parton song, and it's not too bad. Beyonce's vocals are amazing on this track. Daughter is another really just surprising track because in the chorus she decides to sing in Italian with this operatic classical piece, and it's very good, very interesting, very evocative. I also love the watery guitars, the cold sadness of the chords is fantastic. And then we have Spaghetti, where the country genre just goes out the window and it turns into a trap banger. Then we hit the second half of the album where it starts to get weaker and weaker and weaker. The track Just for Fun is an awkward mixture with bright country and bassy futuristic production, and then Alligator Tears features some interesting lyrics about people who cry too much and whine too much, but instrumentally it's not that interesting. It's a little basic. Two Most Wanted featuring Miley Cyrus has a very poppy appeal to it that makes it feel very sterile. Same thing for Levi's Jeans featuring Post Malone. Then we have Yaya, which is another highlight on the album, in my opinion. We have some samples of Nancy Sinatra, and it is really nice. Some fiery percussion, eccentric vocals. It's very smoky and organic and deranged and out there and bold. Oh boy, my roommate's doing something again. River Dance. The track is a little bit too repetitive. Two Hands to Heaven is a ballad on a bed of ambient sounds. At this point, we're straight up listening to pop music. The country has gone out the window at some point. And then Tyrant featuring Dolly Parton. I like the sassy attitude. Beyonce shows a lot of sass on this track and on a lot of other tracks as well. It's also a pop trap track, and it sometimes feels like a fashion show, but overall it's not bad. Sweet Honey Buckin' is a multi-phased pop / contemporary R&B track with bits of guitars and air horn sound effects, and honestly it's all over the place. It's a huge freaking mess, and I find it really odd that it's placed at near the end of the album because it doesn't feel conclusive or memorable at all. The album ends off with Amen, which recalls the beginning of the album, so that's pretty cool, but nothing too groundbreakingly final about the finale. So yeah, the first half of the album is fantastic, but unfortunately as the album progresses onwards, it just gets more and more stale. So unfortunately I'm feeling a strong 6 on this thing, which is still really good. You know, strong 6 to a light 7. On the new Beyonce album, Cowboy Carter. Okay, now we move on to the next album that I'm going to be talking about, and it is the new Moor Mother album, The Great Bailout. Moor Mother has been one of the most interesting artists to come out in the last few years because of her extremely haunting and harrowing spoken word passages and dark ambient music. Her album with Billy Woods Brass is fantastic. Jazz Codes is also not bad, but also didn't really shock me or anything. But The Great Bailout here is basically colonialism and slavery as a horror film, but it's an album. And it's not the first time Moor Mother has dabbled into something like that, but on this album she really doubled down and made it into such a crushingly haunting experience. Honestly, it's impressive how dark this thing sounds. This is like the next Shoo Shoo Pumpkin, what's the name of the album again? Shoot, that one very crazy Shoo Shoo album, it's like Moor Mother's doing that. Like every experimental artist has to venture into this dark point in their discography at some point. But yeah, it is very dark, ominous, entrancing. I feel like I'm slowly falling into a black hole when I listen to the album. The album opener, Guilty, is a 10-minute track featuring Lonnie Holly, and it is about the abolition of slavery in the mid-19th century. But this abolition of slavery isn't like this great, amazing thing or anything, because this resulted in the Great Bailout, where a lot of Africans, a lot of people who were formerly slaves were left with nothing to do, no jobs, no social infrastructure, no welfare, and they just continue working on those fields and plantations as an apprentice and just another kind of slavery in some ways. And it's, again, really sad, tragic, it's full of drony strings. It's all done on an airy bed of harps, and then she delivers some soul-crushing poetry that just really sticks to the back of your head. Then we have All the Money, where she constantly repeats the refrain, "Where did they get all the money? Where did they get all the money?" And he she basically takes jabs against the British Empire and colonization with eerie pianos that reminds me of like Swans to Be Kind, and then these unhinged vibrato vocals that sounds like ghosts haunting the house or anything or something. God Save the Queen is obviously, again, a jab at the British Empire. It's about hierarchy and monarchy. We have these reverby keyboards that sounds like horns, and then also trap beats, which are so messy and whack. It sounds like the trap beats are having a mental breakdown or something. Then compensated emancipation continues with a distorted drone, helpless spiritual singing in the back, and lyrically it deals with political figures being painted as angels, which is again there's something apocalyptic and prophetic about it because of what's happening to America and literally every country ever now. Death by Longitude has these anxiety inducing noises that's just so overwhelming. It's like beatboxing, but I feel like I'm suffocating while listening to the track. It's truly horrifying. Then we have My Soul's Been Anchored, which is a 1 minute interlude track leading to Liverpool Wins, which is where Moor Mother basically talks about the origins of the album and also being robbed of her own culture. And she makes a reference to a painting of Queen Elizabeth presenting a Bible, again, being painted as angelic, being painted as a saint or something. South Sea is an epilogue type track on the album. It's 9 minutes long. It's very spacey and airy and contemplative. I feel like I'm walking through a museum. In fact, the entire album sounds like me going through a museum, and the first section and the last section of the museum is like a little lighter. It's but more so it sets you up for what's about to come, which is the middle parts of the album where you see all the violent imagery of all the monarchs, people with crowns and jewelry, posing as saints, but really they're destroying an entire culture and all these communities, and it's a horrifying experience. It really is. The album ending Spem in Allium is just 53 extra seconds with some sporadic keys, but a little goodbye. And truly interesting album, truly sonically enveloping, and one of the most contemplative pieces of music of the year thus far. Feeling a strong 8 out of 10. So, have you listened to the new Moor Mother and the new Beyoncé album? Comments below, let me know. Subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching.